everyone. I am Kara Berkschneider, and as of Monday, I'm in the new position as the State Urban Conservationist. I'm coming from Bloomington, Indiana, where I was the district conservationist there, and I was lucky enough to be able to work with a lot of small farms, specialty crop producers, and urban farmers. So I really look forward to getting to know you, learning about the projects you have going on, and getting conservation out to these unique producers. I know everybody's busy with EQIP planning right now, but we thought it would be beneficial to take a little bit of time and talk about a brand new practice called low tunnels, so that you have just kind of a base comfort level with knowing what low tunnels are, the benefits they provide, and how to do planning. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So like I said, this is a brand new practice at the national level. It's an intern practice, and it was put on ePhotog on November of 2022. So you can find the practice standard there. What are low tunnels? So these pictures give a typical view of what a low tunnel is. They're a temporary structure, and they're typically made from a spun fabric, plastic, or netting cover. They're commonly used in specialty crop production, and they increase plant productivity and health and decrease plant pressure. According to the standard, they're no more than 4 foot in height. They're very easy to construct. They're inexpensive, and if cared for, they can last multiple growing seasons. So, low tunnel is made of 3 different components. The first is the structure. So, these are typically hoops. They can be made from different materials, but the 3 most common is the 9-gauge wire, which you can see in the lower right-hand side, metal conduit, or PVC. You can kind of beef up these structures by putting on a cross bracing, which is in the upper left. You can buy prefab hoops, which are in the upper right. And hoops are the most common type of structure, but they don't have to be hoops. You can build whatever shape you want. So the lower 2 pictures are examples of some homemade builds where they're more of a rectangular square shape. Okay, so the next component is coverings. So the producer chooses the covering that's best suited for their needs. And the 3 most common types of coverings are a spun fabric, plastic, which needs to be at least 4 mil by the standard, or a fine mesh netting. So once the covering is chosen, the producer rolls out the covering to the length of the bed, plus they leave a little extra at the ends, and then they pull the cover tight over the hoops. And then the third component is to secure the covering down with an anchor. Our standard doesn't require that a certain type of anchor is used. So some of the most common anchors are sandbags, bricks, logs, heavy rocks, or you can purchase anchors like the picture at the center bottom. These anchors go at the base of the hoop or the structure that's been built, and then at the end. So that's why you have that extra fabric at the length of the row cover. That's so that you can basically close up that low tunnel. And that is done with usually a T-post, a really heavy weight of some sort, like a rock or a log. One of the benefits of these low tunnels is that they're so easy to construct, to remove, replace, or to move entirely. So if a producer needs to get in there to do any sort of work like harvesting, weeding, fertilizing, scouting for pests, then they just loosen the anchor on one side, they flip that row cover back, and they get in there, do the work. And then once they're done, they pull the row cover back over, anchor it down, and they're ready to go again. This takes minutes to replace the cover and anchor back down. So it's really easy to get in there and manage your crop. So when you're ready, when you don't need that covering on your bed anymore, then you can also easily move it to a new area for protection where it is needed. That's the beauty of these low tunnels, is they're not permanent, they're very easy to construct and to move. So what about the benefits of these? The two resource concerns that we're addressing are plant productivity and health and pest pressure. So first we'll talk about plant productivity and health. Under plant productivity and health, we have season extension. So in the spring, fall, and winter, that's where these low tunnels really are a great benefit to a producer. The standard allows the low tunnel to be used in the field or in a high tunnel, which the top picture you see the low tunnel being used within a high tunnel. The use of these low tunnels can extend the season, the growing season, from 2 weeks to all year. One of the founders of growing in high tunnels with low tunnels his name is Elliot Coleman. He's a grower in Maine, and he grows 12 months out of the year with no additional heat, just using high tunnels and low tunnels. The most common way to extend the season is by using a spun fabric material for the covering. In this chart that's kind of in the middle of the slide here, you can see that these spun fabric coverings have different weights. They have a lightweight, medium weight, and heavy weight. Depending on what type of weight the producer chooses for the covering, what type they purchase, determines how much season extension they'll have. So if they get a lightweight fabric, they can increase the temperature within that bed by 2 degrees Fahrenheit all the way to 8 degrees with the heavyweight fabric. In the wintertime, it's not as common, but people do use a thin plastic, so a 4 mil plastic, as a covering, and this creates a little mini greenhouse effect, which warms up the soil and it overwinters cool season crops from the fall through the winter, so that when spring comes, they're already established and in production mode. The nice thing about plastic as a covering in the winter is that if it's in the field, that plastic is slick and it sheds snow easily. In the summertime, the plant productivity and health that we're addressing is protecting against the sun and the wind. So you can use shade cloth in the summertime, and this prevents plants from bolting. It prevents sun scald or wind damage, and it can give us 10% to 60% light reduction depending on the type of shade cover you purchase. The second resource concern that we're addressing is pest pressure, and I can't express enough how important this is in specialty crop production. So in the springtime, we're all so excited to see things blooming and to see the bugs out and things flying around. And this top picture of this really pretty white moth may look familiar to a lot of people. They're very abundant and they're awfully pretty. This is the cabbage white. And if you're a specialty crop producer, you're not excited to see this butterfly in the spring because it lays eggs on brassicas. So that's things like cabbage, Brussels sprouts, kale, broccoli, the whole brassica family. It lays eggs on them, and those eggs hatch into larvae, and they are voracious feeders of any type of brassica. The two pictures that are of the cabbage and of the kale, these are really not extreme examples of damage from a cabbage worm. This is pretty typical. And so you can see this is a total crop loss here and a big deal for a specialty crop producer. So the low tunnel can be used to address pest pressure by excluding the pest from the crop. So with the low tunnel, what you would do is you would seed your crop or transplant your crop in. And as soon as you do that, you put that covering over the bed with the brassicas in it, in this example, and it excludes that moth from being able to have access to the plant and laying eggs. And so by doing this, you greatly reduce pesticide use, labor, and crop loss. So who can benefit from low tunnels? I honestly have never worked with a specialty crop producer who is growing for market, growing for profit, who doesn't use low tunnels. They're so beneficial. They are easy to manage, and they just have a great benefit to any size of operation within a high tunnel, in a field. Anybody can use these. A lot of times in these specialty crop, small farm, urban operations, our customers ask us a lot of questions about a lot of different things. And I'm just wanted to give a quick reminder to everyone that you don't have to be an expert on how to grow specialty crops. You're a conservation planner, and you're there to address the resource concern and to help recommend conservation practices to address those concerns. But it is nice to be able to give someone resources. We tend to be really helpful people. And so if somebody is asking a question, we want to give them resources. Our low tunnel standard in the reference section has 3 really great links that are going to provide a lot of information to growers on what type of covering they should get, how to install the low tunnel, the benefits, what to grow inside of them. So a lot of good information to pass along there. When you're planning a low tunnel, what you need more than anything is information from the producer. You need to know the total area in square feet that's going to be covered at one time. So if we look at these low tunnels that are out in the field, then we see we have 7 beds. And let's just say that these 7 beds are 50 foot long and they're 2.5 feet wide. Then the producer could tell you that information, and we can easily figure out the square footage that we plan. So we take 50 foot by 2.5 feet wide, we multiply that, and we get 125 square foot. We know we've got 7 beds. So we've got 875 square foot planned area of low tunnels. What about if someone says, okay, using the same exact scenario, but doubling it. I've got 875 foot that I want to do season extension in the spring on the left-hand side. And then I'm going to take those low tunnels, and because they are so easy to move, I'm going to move them over to the right-hand side and do 875 square foot of pest exclusion in the summer. Would you plan the practice for 875 square foot or double that of 1,750? And the answer is it's 875. Even though they're addressing the resource concern over that entire area, we're just helping with the material cost for the 875 square foot. So we're using the same material, we're just moving it over. So that's a little tricky. And if anybody has any questions, then please reach out on that. But we're just planning for the amount of area that can be covered at one time. When you field verify the low tunnel practice, all you need is a manufacturer document stating that the amount that they purchased, that can be a shipping slip or an invoice, and then photos of the total area covered at one time. Okay, that's all I have, and I really encourage you guys to work with your small farm, specialty crop, urban producers on this practice. It's really beneficial, and please reach out to your area staff or myself if you have any questions. Thanks.